evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me? Oh. It's on. Closer to the mouth. Lift the lollipop. We have a north and a south here, so I've got to make sure I've got the right mic. I'd like to welcome you all to our 2010 Candidate Forum. If you'd all please stand for the singing of Old Canada. Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true faith and love, in all our songs command, with glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free, from far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land, glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. I'd like to thank all of you for coming this evening. And a very special thank you to Dr. Russell and his staff for letting us use this facility for this forum. We don't have many buildings in town that will hold 350 people, other than the churches. We have a very exciting venue tonight. As you can see, we have a lot of candidates running. I'd like to start with a quote from Albert Einstein that I thought was very befitting at this time. It goes, "We can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them." Our moderator for the forum is Jason Common of Price Common and Johnson, and he's the treasurer of the Chamber of Commerce. Our timekeeper is Brent Cahoon. He's the owner of Horizon Trailers, and he's a director on the Chamber. Patty Kimley, Chris McDonnell, Patty's our secretary, and Chris is a director, and Barb Nish is one of those wonderful volunteers who offered to help us this evening. And I don't get to say very much tonight, so I'm Zenith Gaynor, and I'm the president of the Chamber. Now turn the meeting over to the moderator, Jason Common.
We welcome many of you here tonight to come to this forum, and we appreciate the many candidates who are here. Just to explain the format that we'll use tonight is that we've given each candidate 2.5 minutes to make a speech, and then after we have the timekeeper, and we'll stop them at that 2.5 minutes. After each of their speeches, there's been questions that have been submitted beforehand, and we will pose questions to 3 candidates at a time, and they'll have an opportunity to answer them, and we'll go through that. So each candidate will have the opportunity to answer at least 3 questions. So to start, we'll start here at this table here, and I'd just like to introduce some of the people who will be speaking. They've provided some biographies. The first is our mayor, Rick Scow, who by acclamation will be the mayor again, and we're grateful for that. Our next is Richard Bangry, who was born and raised in Cardston and has lived here his entire life. Richard is an incumbent in council and has served for a little over 4 years, first being elected in a by-election. Richard has served as a member of the Lions Club, as a member of Rotary, and he's past president in both of those organizations. Richard is also a founding member of the Cardston Adult Learning Program, Cardston Adult Literacy Council, the local television channel 32, and the Citizens on Patrol program. Our next candidate is Tim Court, who's a local school teacher. He's taught school for 26 years. 22 of those years he has taught in Cardston. He's coached basketball and baseball at the high school level, and he has 30 years of involvement in amateur sport. He has served on several boards in the community, including the Chinook Foundation, the Historical Society, and the MPC. I'm not sure what that is. Municipal Planning Commission. The next candidate is Bill Creed. Bill is born and raised in Cardston. He attended the Washington State University and received his bachelor's degrees in architecture and construction management. Bill has been active in scouting in the community for over 30 years and also in community theater for 20 years. In addition, he has served on many boards in Southern Alberta. He has looked after the Cardston Cemetery for 20 years and currently does maintenance work at the Temple City Villa. Our next candidate is David Dow. David is the past president and current treasurer of the Cardston Rotary Club. He's a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Alberta. He's the past president and director of the Calgary Chamber of Commerce, the vice president of finance for the Calgary Centre for Performing Arts, past director and treasurer of the Calgary Philharmonic Orchestra, has been a member of the council for the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Alberta, has worked as a professional accountant since 1965, including having his own firm in Calgary from 1972 to 1990. Dave Edmunds was born in England and came to Canada at the age of 9. He grew up in Vancouver and surrounding areas, and then moved to Toronto for a period of time and then to Calgary for 30 years. He's worked at the Foothills Hospital for 20 years, and after regionalization worked as a manager for all 5 hospitals, supervising the repair of medical equipment. Dave has lived in Cardston for the past 8 years. He's worked with the Historical Society for 7 years and has been president for close to 4 years. So that is this table here. So we'll let them do their speeches and then I'll introduce the next table. So, Mr. Mayor.
Ladies and gentlemen, what a great honor it is tonight for me just to visit with you for maybe 2 minutes. I'll try to keep it to 2 minutes, although there's lots of you who will be stricken with whatever, thinking that I can keep it to 2 minutes, but I'll try. I want to thank these amazing candidates. A year ago, 7 people put forward their names. 6 were successful. This year we have a lot more than 7. We have 14, and I'm speaking for the council. Positions, we have 4 vying for the school board. And so I applaud each and every one of these candidates. We have quantity and we also have quality. Let's make no mistake. We have quality. Before I go any further, I want to also thank the Chamber of Commerce. Having been a long-term member of the Chamber, I stand in awe of Zenith Gaynor. She has labored so diligently to assist keeping the Chamber moving. And so for that, I applaud her and certainly applaud Zenith for this forum this evening. And once again, thanks to Dr. Russell for making this wonderful facility available to us tonight. I would like to also thank the 6 members of council with whom I've had the honor to serve for 3 years. 3 of them are retiring. 3 of them are seeking re-election. I'd like to thank those 6 gentlemen for their dedicated service to you. Lastly, I would like to thank you for your desire to be involved and to be informed. Without an informed electorate, we stand the risk of putting folks in office who may not be those with the best motives, who may not be those with the best capability. And so thank you so very much for your attendance tonight, because we definitely trust your judgment. And now I'll turn it back to the moderator. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the privilege of being here and letting us give you our views. I thank the Chamber of Commerce. It's a very active program in our community. I want to tell you something that my father used to tell me all the time. A handful of common sense is worth a bushel of learning. I react on common sense. I have no personal agendas. There is nothing in me except for the betterment of Cardston. All my adult life, I've given programs back to Cardston and tried to look at bettering this community. I love this community. This is home. When I go to Utah or somewhere else, and we come over that South Hill and look down upon the community, we know we're home. I raised all my children here, and consequently, I have one of them left. The others have struck out on their own accord. I have 4 years experience, a little over 4 years experience on council. I've enjoyed that 4 years immensely. The challenges that come towards us and before us are ever increasing. The challenges with budget, balancing a budget, using your taxpayers' dollars for the benefit of the community is a big challenge. And we look at the province and what is happening with the province as they're cutting back and scaling back on their grants and bursaries and things like that help us run our community. It's your tax dollars that allows us to give the services to your community. We got to remember that if we scale back on taxes, or if we allow our taxes to go down, and I'm not saying we can cut it, but we need to remember that we can't run a deficit, and we've got to keep our taxes in line to keep you people in your own homes. Thank you, and I'm here for you. I'm here for your openness at any time, and I will give my answers back to you when confronted. But thank you very much.
Citizens of Cardston, it's good to see everybody exercising their democratic responsibilities, I guess. I'd like to congratulate the other candidates for putting forth their names to run this election. What does it take to run a town? Good question. Roads, pavement, sidewalk, water and sewer, heavy equipment, gas and maintenance, garbage removal, street lights, electrical, storms, drains, snow removal, skating rink, and on it goes, from libraries to schools to home for the aged to fire services. We all enjoy the services that we have here in Cardston. It's what makes Cardston a great community that it is. Like all of you, I don't like property tax increases. I don't like school tax increases. And I don't like assessment increases. But also, like all of you, I also understand that services, be it utility, recreation, or snow removal, do not come free. The key to any good elected government council is to assess what is in the best interest of the citizens and what we can afford to act on. We've got a lot of things on our plate, we will for the next few years, dealing with recreation and land development, etc. But to wield an axe and chop away at property taxes is not the way to write a balanced budget. It requires careful thought to decide what services and amenities that we enjoy and what we want to keep. What is needed is a careful assessment of the costs involved, a council that takes into account the benefits and costs when arriving at that particular conclusion. For the last 3 years, I've enjoyed serving on town council. Hasn't always been a bed of roses. A lot of different issues out there, a lot of people that want different things. And so it's been a learning curve, to say the least. I'm confident that the last mayor and council, current mayor as well, has done all that we can to keep those costs in check and still provide a high level of services to the people of Cardston. I also believe that we have one of the best municipal employee groups in the whole province. They're dedicated, professional, they're a great asset to the town.
We have a lot of issues to deal with in the coming years. Job and industry creation, adequate provincial funding for Chinook Foundation, what to do about the swimming pool. Those are just a few of the things we need to deal with. I'm confident with the experience I've gained, I can contribute to help solve these issues. I've loved Cardston. I've lived here for 22 years. There's no other place I'd rather be, so I'm asking for your vote on Monday for supporting council. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Dr. Russell and all of those who made this forum possible tonight. I'd also like to thank all of the other candidates who have put their names forward. And I'd especially like to thank all of you for coming tonight, especially if you submitted questions. You know, we can all make a difference. But I've learned that 90% of making a difference is just showing up and being willing to be involved. And, you know, we all have an influence. We can all be an influence for good. But one person on council can't solve all the problems. 6 people on council can't solve all the problems. It takes the whole community and all of everyone's input to work together. And of course, to do that, council will need to be open and transparent in all of their decisions and in the way they operate. I'd like to propose, or to myself, to be guided by certain principles. And the first ones would be the Rotarians' 4-way test. If you don't know that, it's first, is it true? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build better friendships and better relationships? And fourth, is it beneficial to all concerned? And also of Stephen Covey's 7 habits, seek first to understand and then to be understood. And I'd like to put these in my life and perhaps encourage others to follow those also. As we think about what the next 3 years is going to bring, or maybe the next 6 or the next 10 years, nobody knows for sure, but I believe that we'll probably face some challenging times, and we will all need to work together as a community. And when I say community, I mean not just the town, but all of the surrounding community of Cardston. Everyone contributes and benefits from this town. And I'd like to work for cutting the red tape and regulations and bureaucracy that tie our hands and make us dependent on government solutions and handouts, and work to be self-reliant and work for thrift, industry, and independence. And, okay, thank you.
It's a tough assignment to convert a Raymondite to a Cardstonian. Exactly. Your Honor, Mayor Scow, fellow candidates, ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege to be here. As I have visited with people during the campaign, there are several concerns that have been discussed, such as taxes, broken sidewalks, auto records, snow removal, and a pair of lines going from the north side of 2nd Avenue across the street to the post office, so there's a crosswalk in the middle of that street. These are the concerns of our people. The major ones to me are taxes, the increase in property taxes. And this is not an uncommon problem throughout the province of Alberta. I read in the paper that Calgary has the same problem, people complaining about the increase in taxes. Many of our homeowners in our town are seniors and have limited income via pension sources. Therefore, our town's money management is very important. Our town officials have been increasingly challenged to prioritize their spending decisions during these tough economic times. Our town cannot afford all the nice-to-haves that we would like. Over the past few years, there have been significant increases in property taxes. Over the past 5 years since we have been here, our taxes have gone up 19%. I would encourage that we have a more stabilized tax regime with no large significant annual variations. Would a cap on tax increases solve the problem and yet still provide the funds necessary to operate the town? That question we need to answer. The second major problem is recreational facilities. We talked about the swimming pool, we talked about the golf course, we talked about the ice rink and those things there. And I think there needs to be some transparency in the accounting for our recreational facilities. That is, we need to know where our dollars are going so that we can have these things. And it is important in our town that we have recreational facilities, particularly for our youth. I remember as a boy, we didn't have television. That was a long time ago. But there was a cow to milk, a garden to hoe before Dominion Day so I could go to Stampede, and chickens to feed. I don't see many of those in our town. And times have changed, and that is good. But we need to have these things available for our youth because our youth are important to us. These two things need to be weighed off.
I'm thankful for the opportunity to talk to you this evening. I've attended council meetings for the past year and have learned a lot listening to the council discuss many things in regards to the operation of the town. But the knowledge I've gained, I believe that I would be better able to serve the citizens of Cardston by bringing new ideas to the meetings. While working for the government, I dealt with having a budget cut on a regular basis and was expected to do more with less. Some of my concerns are, the town hasn't grown much in the last 100 years. If you look at 1912, the population was about 3,200, now we're about 35. The town of Cardston's biggest export is people. Our youth graduate from high school, leave to continue their education and find jobs. They don't return except to visit or maybe to retire. We need to have incentives to attract the right types of businesses or light industry. We are going through some difficult times, and I believe that the recession hasn't hit this area until now. Some of our businesses are struggling, and we need to increase our tourist traffic by making Cardston a destination rather than an area to stop on the way to somewhere else. In regards to the swimming pool, much more research needs to be done to decide what we need to do and decide what we can afford. And from what I can see from talking to people, we can't afford a covered swimming pool at this time. The town council needs to be transparent and accountable, and I believe that voting on important issues should be recorded so that people can see exactly what people have done. We would like to lower property taxes, but providing services costs a lot of money. I would propose that we try to cap the taxes on property for 1 to 2 years. This might not be possible due to expenditures. We need some low-cost housing so we can attract people to town. Most people can't afford to live in a $300,000 or $400,000 home. We need a land development policy so that landowners know what the town is prepared to do when they want to subdivide their property. We need to develop a better working relationship between the town, the county, and the blood reserve. We need to develop a multiple year sustainability possible for a minimum of 10 years. I would invite everybody to come out and vote and express your desires.
I'm fortunate in that there isn't a timekeeper for me. Our next candidate, if I had read her biography before, I wouldn't put her right behind me as I'm standing here. She is a black belt in martial arts. Barb was born and raised in Toronto. She moved to Calgary and there owned and operated a telecommunications company, served in the Boy Scout program for over 12 years, was active in both her children's schools and church. Her family relocated to Cardston in 1998. Barb studied martial arts for 23 years, earning her second degree Dan Black Belt, instructor's level. She started a small business teaching martial arts in Cardston from 1999 to 2006, graduating 7 black belts from this area to an international level. Currently, Barb is a community disability worker with the Cardston and District Association for the Handicapped. Bob Holland is our next candidate. Bob moved to Cardston in 1972. That's a good year. That's when I was born. Bob has been in the general insurance business for over 25 years when he retired and his son Jim took over the office. Bob has served on several local business boards, including 7 years on the Cardston Credit Bureau, and has been a Rotarian for 25 years. Our next candidate is Grant Hunter. For the past 3.5 years, Grant has owned the family business here in Cardston called Hunter Construction. He has worked as president of New Media Inc. in Calgary for 6 years. He has a degree in economics and political science from BYU. He served on the Economic Development Council for Fort Macleod for a year and has served for 3 years on the Federal PC Party Committee. Our next candidate is Maggie Cronin. Maggie has been living in Canada for the past 39 years, except for 5 years tour of duty in Belgium, where she served in an administrative position for the Department of National Defence. She has been a property taxpayer in Cardston for the past 7 years. She presently serves as the treasurer for the Hospital Auxiliary Association. As an auxilian, she participates in fundraising activities and in the Community Awareness Day. She has volunteered with the Meals on Wheels program with immunization clinics, as well as offering her free tutoring services to help a child in this community. The last candidate that we'll hear from in this round is Larry Peterson. Larry and his wife, they're transplanted from Vancouver to Cardston almost 3 years ago. Larry's received a Bachelor of Science degree from BYU in Business Management in 1970. The ripe age of 47, while working full-time, completed the requirements for a Master's of Business Administration degree from City University in Seattle. He has worked as a commercial loans officer, a commercial property and casualty underwriter and broker, has owned a wholesale food distributing business, a laundromat, and a donut store. He's also spent many years driving a bus to support his family. So we'll first hear from Barbara.
Okay, as long as none of you weigh 300 pounds and are coming at me with a knife, we're good. I love Cardston. We moved here 13 years ago. We've raised 8 out of our 9 children here. We love this community. My family would not live anywhere else. Mind you, once they've grown up, they choose other things. But I would not choose anywhere else in the entire country of Canada that I would live. This is a great place to live, and we have to keep it a great place to live. We need to attract some business into Cardston. We need to have facilities that our youth and our young people can have a good time and be able to stay here. We need jobs. I know many families in this town that work 2 jobs just to stay here. We need some interaction with our government, with our local government. I am a creative person, and I like creative ideas. I look for creative ideas. I like to solve problems. One of the reasons I'm running is to help solve some problems that I've seen. To have interaction with everyone, to make it available to everyone. I would make the suggestion that maybe we should make our website interactive. That when we have issues, that we can hear from each of you. I don't own a business in town. Most of my kids are grown up. I'm here to serve you. I'm here to improve the community. And I want to hear what you want. As I've been knocking on doors, I have been hearing. I've heard of areas where the streetlights don't work. I've heard of areas where the potholes don't get fixed. I've heard of areas where they've been flooding. These are things that all need to be addressed. I've heard a lot of concern over a swimming pool. A swimming pool is a wonderful idea. It needs to be budgeted. It needs to be looked at carefully and planned carefully, and your input needs to be in it. I would like to serve you, and I'm going to end it at that.
Just need to interrupt for a minute. These mics are very sensitive, as you might have noticed, so just so the candidates know, you have to hold it up and speak quite loudly, and then everyone in the back can hear. So we'll do this.
Can I do it again?
Now for the rest of the story. As I mentioned, Nell and I came to this town in 1972 and have really enjoyed it. I think this is one of the best places to live. Period. And to illustrate that point, I'll tell you about a little story we had. A group of us were sitting in Reed Carr's barber shop. It was kind of a hangout spot for us during the day. And we were discussing on where's the best place to live. If you had to move from here, where would you want to go? Where could you think you could find it better? And so after we'd made a lot of suggestions, there sat my friend, Julius Lang. So I looked over at Julius and I said to Julius, Julius, you've been all over the world. You've visited a lot of places. You've seen a lot of things. Where do you think is the best place to live? And he said, right here. It doesn't get any better. And so I've thought about that a lot of times in my life here at Cardston. It just doesn't get any better. We had some people come and stay with us this past week, and they commented on how beautiful our town is. Our nice streets, curbs, sidewalks, our homes, front yard. Everybody has taken real pride in Cardston. So, how was yours?
Tell them to shut their phones off.
Shut the phones off. Okay. Now, what about Cardston? You know, I drive around and take a look. I think we've got a really plus in our soccer field. I think that's great. And I don't think it costs Cardston a lot of money to have it there. Kids love to run and they can go up there and play and run and have a good time. I talked about our golf course. What about our golf course? Well, they tell me that's one of the best. It just doesn't get any better than Cardston. Great. Get out of here. I got a long ways to go. Anyway, these are good things. We've got good things in town, and I appreciate it. This is where Nell and I are going to stay, and if I get elected, I'll work for you, and I'll do the best I can. And thank you.
If we could have the person up in the booth close the window or stop talking on the phone, that would be great. Thank you.
For the past few weeks, I've been campaigning for lower taxes. Cardston's property taxes has increased 43.5% between 2005 and 2009. In essence, this is almost a doubling of our property taxes every 10 years. Town operating expenses were just over $6 million in 2005. In 2009, that expense rose to $8 million. That's a 35% increase. You're probably asking, just as I did, how can a budget increase $2 million over such a short period of time? Here are a few examples. In 2005, the pool and rink cost a combined $117,000. By 2009, they were losing $201,000. The golf course has lost almost $500,000 in the last 5 years. I'm not saying we shouldn't have the pool or rink, but I am saying we should be looking at more effective and efficient ways of running these services in order to decrease taxes. The national inflation rate has increased, or the national inflation rate rose an average of 1.8% each year for the past 5 years, which would warrant at most a 10% increase in town administration wages, yet they've increased 34%. Will Rogers said, the only difference between death and taxes is that death doesn't get worse every time politicians meet. Every year our last town council has met, taxes have increased. In fact, in 2008, town council allowed a 17% increase in property taxes. I would like to make a few suggestions on how we might rectify this problem. We need to sell the golf course. This is going to eliminate about $100,000 of waste every year. We need to run the pool and rink more efficiently. That might eliminate also another $100,000 a year. And the third thing we need to do is we need to roll back town employee and administration wages to proper levels. This would save us $300,000 a year. That's $500,000 each year we can save in tax savings. Washington is a place where politicians don't know which way is up and taxes don't know which way is down. With this in mind, I challenge the next town council to work with me to reduce budget spending to 2008 levels, and then to cap yearly tax increases to a maximum of 5%. On October 18th, when elected, I promise a provident, prudent vote on every issue, because that is what pioneer heritage in this town is built on.
It's a real honor to be here tonight. Well, we all have different views to make Cardston a better place to live in, ranging from affordable property taxes and better recreation facilities to better tourism industry. As a town councillor, my goal will be to take into consideration the needs of every segment of the population, from young to golden age, and yet to carefully safeguard our taxpayers' money. We must see creative and sustainable fiscal solutions that will fit our demographic makeup. Here is what I propose. On the short term, I will seek more transparency in accounting procedures and better communication to the taxpayer regarding the use of his tax dollar. I will support a by-the-book use of in-camera meetings. Town issues should be discussed in public with taxpayer input. This builds trust. I will actively participate in the preparation of fiscally responsible yearly budgets. Planned expenditures need to be carefully reviewed. I will seek creative and fiscally responsible solutions to replace, improve, or refurbish aging facilities. I will seek the taxpayer's voice through plebiscite for approval of large and costly projects. I will seek fair solutions when dealing with the county regarding water and other issues. On the long term, and to improve our tax base, I will work hard on your behalf for an integrated economic revival plan that will include solutions to increase revenues without adding to the tax burden, tax incentives to attract businesses and industries, land development that includes affordable housing to accommodate our needs, renewal initiatives to rejuvenate the town, to increase services and stimulate its local economy, planning to develop a sustainable tourism and hospitality industry. We have great assets in this town. All we need for me to contribute to this is your vote on October 18. For me, Maggie Kormos.
To Mayor Scow, to Dr. Russell, and to the Chamber of Commerce and to Zenith, I'd just like to say thank you for giving us the opportunity to come tonight and speak to you. When I got the letter from Jason outlining the details of the meeting, he told me I had to give a 2.5-minute talk. I haven't done that for a long time. We have settled in Cardston about 2.5 years ago, and as we got here, a love of gardening, both on my wife's and I part, prompted us to approach council and to seek to establish a community garden in Cardston, and this led to the formation of the Cardston Heritage Seed and Garden Society and the opening of that garden on town land up at the sewer treatment plant 2 years ago. Thanks to the cooperation of council and the hard work of some very talented and willing associates, the Society's gardening classes and the operation of that garden have been a huge success. The only thing we have left to do this year with our garden plot is go up and pull the weeds out before we get to first snow. When I was out going from door to door, one of the gentlemen I talked to took my handout and said, "You seem to have an answer for everything." And my response to him was that the 4 things that I had outlined on my platform, rather than being an answer for anything, were things that council should consider to be a work in progress over the next 3 years. The first of those was to draw new business to Cardston. 30% of our tax revenue in Cardston comes from our commercial and industrial base. 70% comes from our homes. For many communities in Canada, that's an exact reversal of percentages, and we need to work creatively to draw new business to Cardston. It's one thing that we can do to increase our tax revenue. There are a large number of people in Cardston to whom paying their current property taxes is a burden. And I have promised them that if I'm elected to council, that I will be their protector. And I'll renew that promise to them right now to do that again. And thank you very much.
The last 4 candidates who are running for town council will be next. First will be Steve Peterson. Steve is 34 years old, lives in Cardston with his wife and 6 children. Steve is self-employed as a public health consultant and has spent the past 9 years working and learning about how to strengthen and support families and communities. Steve has worked on projects related to food security, education, mental health and wellness, affordable housing, poverty reduction, violence prevention, health inequality, health eating, healthy communities, positive father involvement, hope, Aboriginal health and well-being. Steve is also a sessional instructor in the Faculty of Health Sciences at the University of Lethbridge. Steve has a master's in public health from Yale University and is currently a part-time student in the Canine Studies program at the Red Cove College. Steve's community involvement includes service as a board member for Shina House and as a member of the Blood Tribe Food Security Committee. Next is Jim Schaefer. Jim has previously served on town council. He's the past president and the current member of the Rotary Club of Cardston. He served on the town of Cardston Golf Committee. He's been a member of the Cardston District Chamber of Commerce. He's a current member of the Cardston and District Chamber of Commerce and has been a businessman in our community for 38 years, operating a real estate office and a construction business. Next is Don Shidler. He was born and raised in Cardston. He has been a member of Citizens on Patrol since it was founded and a block parent for many years. He was previously employed with Cardston County Emergency Services for 13 years as an EMTA and firefighter. Don is also the owner and operator of an appliance repair business in Cardston and surrounding areas for 26 years. The last candidate running for council is Dave Smith. He's a current councillor and he's running for re-election. Dave grew up in Calgary, and before moving to Cardston, he worked for 17 years for CP Rail as a locomotive engineer. He moved to Cardston 4 years ago and currently owns and operates Dave's Drive-In on Highway 5.
Good evening. Thank you everyone for being here. We're all here tonight because Cardston is a good town. I believe Cardston can become a great town. The problem with a good town is it's only good for some of its people. A great town is a town where people feel included and where opportunities and ideas are encouraged. It becomes known affectionately as a hometown. Not because of the amount of time lived there, but because of the feeling we associate with living and having lived there, with the impact the community had on us, and conversely, we were able to have as part of the community. I believe 2 keys to building a hometown are 1, positive growth, and 2, inclusion. I believe in positive growth for Cardston, that our community can increase in opportunities and numbers. I believe positive growth can protect what we hold as valuable, while also embracing creativity and new ideas. Positive growth is about inspiring a shared vision of what is possible, and working towards realizing that vision together. I believe in inclusive government and community. I believe that when a community reaches out to engage its people in decision making, to keep them informed of what's going on, that a community grows stronger. I believe in public consultations on the budget and during the budgeting process. I believe in not just an open door policy, but an open door culture, where people feel welcome in town office and at town meetings. I believe we can take it even further. I would like to hold monthly town hall meetings, where we can sit down together and dialogue about our community, its opportunities and challenges. and together help good growth happen in our town. I've already launched an online forum, you may have seen it, ideasforcardston.ca, together with fellow candidate Grant Hunter, as a means of providing a voice for anyone in town. This forum will continue. I also believe inclusiveness means reaching out and strengthening relationships with our neighbors in Cardston County and with the Blood Tribe. I'm running for town council because I believe in us, all of us, building our future together. Thank you.
It's easy to tell that we have 14 candidates. All you have to do is just drive around the block looking for a parking place, and I don't think that's ever happened in our town before. We've had this many. I'm happy to be here tonight. I feel honored. Since putting my name in 3 weeks ago, I've had the chance to talk with many people in our community. And they've expressed their concerns and things that they would like to have changed and done. And then after they did that, then they turned and asked me, what would you be prepared to do? Well, their concerns range from things we've already talked about, high taxes, swimming pool, the golf course, attracting new business to town. And my desire is like it's always been, is to live in a community where it's thriving, and we've had times in Cardston in the past 38, 40 years, well, I've lived here 60 years, that it has been thriving. And that's what I want to see. And I think that we can do this if we can somehow bring in more residential and commercial development, because it will help make our taxes to be more static, make living more affordable. One lady I talked to was elderly, and she said that the high cost of utilities and taxes was going to force her to have to sell her home and to move away. And this is very sad, and I don't want to see it happen. And I know we have expenses in our town, and there's things that we have to do, but we just need to make sure that people don't leave our community because it's too expensive. The swimming pool and the golf course are hot topics. No matter what's decided about a swimming pool, some people are going to be unhappy. And the golf course, the only people that are really happy there are the golfers. So, and I'm one of them, and you all know that. It's a of course. I can assure you that that I'm committed to do my best to make informed decisions for the town. I will use the experience that I've gained in the past from working in the various organizations, being a town councillor, and the 38 years that I've been in business here in Cardston. People have asked, why are you running? It's not because of the money. So vote Jim Shidler.
Fellow candidates, Mayor Scow, and to you citizens of Cardston, as I look out here, I'm a little bit nervous or whatever because I've been in many of your homes to fix your appliances, and I hope I didn't charge you too much. I'm very honored to run for town council. So I wish I could stand here and promise that couldn't raise the property tax and not raise property taxes, because I'm just as concerned about it as each one of you are. I realize each one you have the incomes, and nobody wants to pay extra for things that they don't think they might need. Like, I don't own a golf clubs and I don't ride a bull, but it makes me wonder, these are assets to the town. They are expensive, I agree, and they should be managed, and they shouldn't be dragging us down, but they say they should be an asset. And if they aren't an asset to the town, then we say that we need to deal with it and make sure that we move on and grow. One of the things also, I'm a very good listener. You can ask my wife. I listen to your things, and if something doesn't fly or we can't afford it or do it, then we won't. And we just as plain as this, if money's not there, we can't do it. But we also need to show confidence in our economy in Cardston. if we ourselves don't show confidence, you know, how else are the people looking into Cardston are going to feel confident about it? So these projects coming up, and I'm in favor of a swimming pool. Yes, it's going to cost money, but if it costs too much, well, we won't be able to do it. It's that simple. But if we can swing it, what confidence will it show to our community and to the people out of the town, and that show their confidence? I travel to Pincher Creek twice a week. I wish I didn't have to do that, but because there's not enough population in Cardston, I have to go there to support my family. If I look out there and see all that's going on there, Walmart, Tim Hortons, the Brick, it's all, it makes me wonder. I hope that Cardston could have this too. I appreciate your vote and your confidence on Monday the 18th. Thank you.
Jason's must have heard me speak before. He's trying to get up and shut me out here. So I'm just going to get right to the meat and potatoes of this right now here. From talking to the residents and based on information that I've acquired over the past 3 years, I've set my goals as follows. I'm going to continue to push for a new indoor pool, be aggressive towards business retention and attraction, new Main Street revitalization strategies, work with private landowners and developers on affordable housing initiatives, beautification of neighborhood parks. Cardston is a wonderful community to live in. However, if we want to revitalize and grow our community, we must create a positive environment where people and business want to be. Our swimming pool is outdated and of disrepair. We have no facilities in or near Cardston that address the need for year-round active living for all ages or physical capabilities. The federal and provincial governments are encouraging communities to form partnerships and work together to attain goals of growth and sustainability. This is what we must and will do to offset the capital and operational costs of an indoor pool. We need to work to mitigate the loss of existing business. We need to move forward with our Main Street revitalization program. New business and industry are important to the growth. All right, who stuck my pages together? Growth and sustainability of any community. They create jobs and bring additional revenue to the town. Bold steps must be taken to attract new small business and industry. It is important to have affordable housing in our community. Some young families, seniors, and growing number of baby boomers, retiring baby boomers, will be looking for a home in which the costs are not a heavy burden on them. I am absolutely in favor of working with private landowners and developers to achieve the goal of affordable living. The main parks in Cardston are very nicely taken care of. Unfortunately, some of the smaller parks around town are in need of work. Upgrades and repairs must be done to increase the safety and usability. This will in turn enhance the aesthetics of our parks and our neighborhoods. With some hard work and progressive thinking, Cardston can be an even greater place to live. On October 18th, vote for Dave. Thanks.
The next 4 candidates are each running for the school board trustee. Kind of sitting out of order here, so let's start with Cal. Well, actually, I'll start with Lori. Sorry. Ladies first. And I just lost. Lori Brooks was born in Cardston. She's the 3rd child of Jack and Darlene 80. She was raised in Cardston until her senior year when her family returned to the Cardston area. She's the mother of 5 children, 4 of whom graduated from Cardston High School, with the youngest currently in grade 11. Lori has been active in the community, serving on several boards and committees, and has also had a keen interest in education. She was elected to her 1st term on the school board in 2007 and is seeking a 2nd term on the school board. Clark, still to the ground. And down. Clark Hardy, he's the father of 11 children. They've lived in each of the 3 West Wind communities, Sterling, Raymond, and Cardston. He attended the University of Alberta for 6 years, He has served as a school teacher and also as a school principal for 23 years. He's taught in 4 of the West Wind schools, Sterling, Raymond Elementary, Raymond Northside, Cardston Elementary, and was school principal in 3 of those schools. He's also a member of the Provincial Teacher Education and Certification Committee for 3 years. This committee is made up of representatives from Alberta universities and Alberta school boards and Alberta teachers. He's a trustee of the West Wind schools for 9 years, representing Cardston Ward 2. And he's trained in developing a capable people program. Next is Alan Kormos. Alan is 36 years old. He was born and raised on a farm south of Cardston in the Kimball area. After graduating from Cardston High School, he attended college in Rexburg, Idaho, and then in Lethbridge to finish studies with a major in agricultural business and a minor in crop social sciences. After college, he lived in Australia for 2 years as a missionary, and when he returned home, he married Zella. Together they have 4 girls, and he's practicing his education with working on a family farm. His interests are hobbies, and hobbies include family, farming, breaking things and fixing things, the outdoors, and nature. The last candidate for trustee is Cal Salmon. Cal was born and raised in Raymond. He started teaching school when he was 18 and eventually came to Cardston 39 years ago with his family. He was the Cardston High School counselor for 20 years when he retired from teaching. He's been a funeral director in the family business for the last 19 years. That's why he's the last speaker. He loves to serve his family, community, and church.
I'm happy to be here this evening. I just wanted to be able to talk to you about what's happening on the educational front. In 2008, Ed Stelmach mandated the Education Minister, Dave Hancock, to lead an initiative that would create a long-term vision for education in Alberta. Thinking ahead and asking the question, what would a 2030 learner look like? A steering committee was struck, and a forum has been conducted all across Alberta, allowing all Albertans to have a say in how education is presently being administered. All Albertans articulated their vision through the 3 E's. They feel a learner needs to be an engaged thinker, one who thinks critically, an ethical citizen, one who builds humility and fairness and open-mindedness, and third, an entrepreneurial spirit, one who creates opportunities and achieves goals through hard work, and one who explores ideas. Also, they talked about an educated Albertan looks and demonstrates the following. They should know how to learn, think critically, identify and solve complex problems, innovate, apply multiple literacies, demonstrate global and cultural understanding. So what does this inspiring education really mean to all of us? It's transformational in nature. It provides a new practices and human interactions. It recognizes that technology, community partnerships, post-secondary institutions can enable interactions between all learners, experts, advisors, and mentors. In doing so, inspiring education transforms the way we think about possible learning experiences and the way we address learning needs of tomorrow. So we ask ourselves, how can this be achieved? First, it needs to be learner-centered. We need to have shared responsibility and accountability. We need to engage all community members. It needs to be inclusive and equitable, responsive, sustainable, and efficient use of our resources. It was interesting to note that one of the themes that emerged of importance was the parent involvement in their child's education and the benefits that accrue from those children whose parents take an active role in the school. It should also be noted that parent involvement can positively influence outcomes. It further extended to the community. Communities are like incubators. It's important that we as parents and students, thank you.
concession's open. Hello? Can you hear me back there? Thank you. And thank you all for being here. As a candidate with a lot of experience in the education field, covering most dimensions of it, I feel like the man with $1,000, that's about. I've taught school in 4 West Gwynn schools. I've been principal for 21 years in 3 of those schools, 9 years on the school board, 2 years as board chairman. I love kids, and that's what education is about, and that's what school boards are about. And that's the job of a trusting school board, is to see that kids can maximize their experience in schools, and they do that with good teachers, good staff, good school trustees. They need affirmation, they need quality time, and everybody involved in the division from top to bottom needs the same thing coming from their mentors. I believe in that very firmly. Past experience on the board, I've been considered and called sometimes by the other board trustees an idea person. Ideas that I've contributed that are currently in effect or have been include celebrating success of schools. If you go to the high school on Thursday, you'll see that program in action at the Cardston High School. Respect and responsibility was an idea I threw out and was adopted by the board as a theme for a year. You know, experience is great, but it really means nothing unless it translates to an effective and contributing person. And that's what I believe I have been, and that's what I would do. If I can choose your vote, I will be. Thank you.
Good evening. Okay, I'm Alan Kormos, and if Clark has $1,000 to his name, I've probably got one. You know, again, I have no experience, but I do have kids, and that's what I'm about. As far as that's where my interest and my incentive is for running for a school board position, are my kids. My deepest respect to all 3 of the candidates, because anybody that wants to involve themselves in school, I think my hat's off to them. So I wish the best for all of them. For his candidates. I guess talking to youth and to people on the front line, like is in the form of teachers, I think even in this little town that we have, there's some pretty serious issues in the schools, bullying being one of them, even drugs and things that the kids can find themselves in the midst of in a small town or real in this town. And so safety is important to me. When I send my kids off to school, I think they're safe, but that's all encompassing as far as the bullying aspect goes and other parts of that too. But and I'm a little concerned about the jurisdiction of the province in education, because being not familiar with with a lot of the way that the province handles education, it kind of troubles me that more of it's going towards the province, and I would like to see more parent involvement also. I've read the Inspiring Education document too from the province, and it's all good, but they also kind of raise the thought that maybe trustees, while they can be elected, maybe they should be appointed in other avenues, and that to me doesn't sit well with me, because I think parents from a local area need to have much more say in their kids' education. So that's my main concerns at this time, but I thank you for your time. Thank you.
Chuck? Okay. Good to be with you this evening. although I think I'd like to be at the football game with a few others. Since I've always been an advocate for students, this is something that I enjoy following when I think of students from K through 12. Fellow candidates for the school trustee position, I welcome your input and your desire to serve the students of our area. Firstly, I like to say thank you. I've had 18 years of excitement as one of 9 school trustees in West Wind. I taught school 34 years, now have a better understanding of the nuts and bolts with these past 18 years added on. We operate 32 different schools in West Wind, and understanding these different schools and realizing that we need to spend $44 million wisely makes me understand and know and appreciate the fact that we must provide the highest quality education for all of our 4,000 plus students in West Wind. We're doing a lot of good things in West Wind. In the past we like to remember the students come first. That's my #1 priority. We have excellent teachers continually improving their teaching skills. The new induction and mentoring program quickly helps our new teachers get into a rhythm. Our achievement results and citizenship results are improving. High school completion rates are the best in the province, I think. We've been blessed to have budgets that allow us to achieve divisional priorities. We continue to fight for provincial equity funding so that students in Cardston get as much money as the students in Edmonton. We have been able to hire and often evaluate the superintendent and other administrators. The administration team is more focused on supervision, evaluation, and improving instruction now. A new bus lane at Cardston Elementary School helps with safety. Some things I'd like to pursue in the future. Again, students are #1. We need more local input from parents, community on these educational issues. We have 530 teachers and support staff. We need to treat them fairly. Just to wind up, I'd like to say that as we go into the 21st century, as we consider the document Inspiring Education that's coming down the tube, I will continue to use my experience, time, and passion to serve appropriately. Thank you.
We thank all the candidates for their comments and their taking the time appropriately. We're just going to have just a 5-minute break. You see we have water bottles up here, and some of us have been drinking more than others. So we're going to have a little break to use the facilities and gather ourselves here. So just 5 minutes, the concession's open as I mentioned before. The next question is number 2. What can town council do to retain youth in this area? On the second page, number 2. Oh, we got a different one. Oh, number 9. She gave me a different one, Patty. Number 9. What can town council do to retain youth in this area? So Tim Court, Maggie Cronin, Steve Peterson, and Don Shidler. What can town council do to retain youth in this area?
I see a number of my students coming back year after year, maybe not 10 or 15 years later when they get the chance to raise their families. But to keep people here, we need to enhance, I think, our recreation facilities, give them a reason to come home. We need to give them a reason to stay here. That means it's very difficult with free agency and people going. But if we can find a way to enhance jobs in the town and provide reasons for them to stay, then they'll stay.
The problem with youth staying in town is really a cultural issue. From times back, many, many years ago, students always try to seek higher education somewhere else, in the States or in Lethbridge. It would be nice if they could stay in Lethbridge and come back to town, but you need employment for them. And you need affordable housing. You need something to help them to have recreation also. But it has to be a sustained plan for them. Otherwise, they won't stay here either. We need to help them stay there with employment. Thank you.
I think the first thing a town council does is talks to the youth. The second thing it does, more importantly, is listen to them. If you look around, youth aren't very well represented here. I think that's key. I think as the youth engage with their town, what they do is they start to create a sense of, this town can be my hometown. I see opportunity here. I see a place for me. I see a purpose for me here. I see hope in my future in this town. And when they do that, they will help to create the opportunities and the things that our town needs to be vibrant, to be sustainable, and to be a place where we can continue to call home.
I'm glad I got this question because this is one of my high priorities as well. All three of my children are living in Lethbridge right now, and I'm sure your grandchildren and your children are living elsewhere too, and you'd like them to live here close by. And I think the only way to do that is say, once again, show confidence in the community. We've got to have jobs, and we've got to recognize that they can support their families as they grow up, and as we bring in new businesses and welcome new families in, and that they'll feel comfortable and secure that they can raise their family, that I think Town Council achieved a great thing. Thank you.
Okay, this is question 10. There are policies in place that aren't being followed or enforced. If you are elected to Town Council, what will you do about these? So we'll have Dave Smith, Barb Fox, Larry Peterson, and Jim Schaefer respond to that. There are policies in place that aren't being followed or enforced. If you are elected to Town Council, what will you do about these?
First of all, I think I don't know exactly what policies they're talking about, to be honest with you. Usually when there's an issue with the policy, usually it's brought before council, and council can change that policy or find out what's going on with that policy. I mean, we do have administration in place, we have bylaw officers, we have many different ways to make sure that these controls are in place here. The policies are there for a reason, and if there is an issue with it, it needs to be brought before council. Thanks.
I'd have to say I agree with Dave. It's really difficult to answer a question when the exact policy isn't in front of you that is being questioned. It would have to be brought to council, exactly as Dave has said, and it would be discussed, and if needed, to have a different enforcement policy or however it needed to be enforced.
There's an adage in the education field that says if you don't mean it, don't say it. I think, first of all, the council would have to find out what these policies are so they could address them. If the policies are obsolete, if they're outdated, if they don't work, and if council's not willing to enforce them, then council should change them. You need to understand, as part of maintaining the integrity of law and order in a society, that you have to give the appearance of upholding and sustaining the law, as well as upholding and sustaining the law. Council needs to be the leader in that. If policies don't work, change them. If policies work, keep them and enforce them.
I've noticed over the past couple of years our policies and some of the enforcement issues that our bylaw officer has been doing has been superb. I think he's done a great job for our community, and I think our council has when policies come up that need to be changed or looked at, or bylaws need to be changed, they should be changed. And I think that that has been done in the past, and we will continue to do that.
The next question is number 15. What are your ideas for attracting new business and industry to Cardston? Just give me 1 second. Number 15. What are your ideas for attracting new business and industry to Cardston? We'll have David Dow, Grant Hunter, Larry Peterson, Tim Court, and Tim Court responds to that question. What are your ideas for attracting new business and industry to Cardston?
It's common in most municipalities when they're trying to attract new business to their community that they provide tax relief and assistance in that area so that the business has a base to start from without being encumbered by costs that are difficult. So I would recommend that we have a practice of courting new businesses and then providing some way that they can come to our town with a certain amount of relief on taxes for the first few years.
Yes, it's true that the greatest asset or greatest export we have is our youth. However, if they don't come back, then it doesn't really help our community any. And I think what we need to do is we need to focus on what we have a lot of here. And since I've been here, it's blown a lot. And so we have a lot of wind. We need to focus on aggressively talking to these wind-producing businesses and invite them to come to our community. There are communities all around us that have taken advantage of this opportunity, and yet we haven't. And I think we've missed out so far on a great opportunity. So I would be very aggressive in going after the wind producing companies and ask for their business to come to us.
The first thing that any town council needs to do to attract industry is to have an infrastructure in place that will sustain the industry when it comes. There has to be sufficient power, there has to be sufficient water, there has to be sufficient transportation access so that industry can profitably exist in Cardston. The second thing that a council needs to do is to develop a tax incentive plan to attract industry to come. If you look at tax incentives, you cut taxes for the people as they first come, but the net increase in jobs and homeowner taxes and other taxes that come give it a plus. The last thing you have to do is you have to go out of Cardston and you have to aggressively chase business and industry down to attract them to come. Thank you.
The town of Cardston is already trying to attract business by doing what you all just talked about. We have to understand that we're at the bottom of the Highway 2. There's nobody south of us or west of us. So we need to sell what we've got, and that is, I believe, a beautiful area near national parks. I think we haven't hit our stride in tourism yet. We could be the gateway to the crown of the continent, and I think there's tremendous potential in what we have here. Our chance of attracting a very large business down here is not very good. So we need to work with what we've got, and I believe that would be, in a large part, tourism.
The next question is number 14. Cardston has a lot of crime that is done in early hours by foot traffic around the community. What is your stand on this problem? We'll have Richard Bangry, Bob Holland, David Edmunds, and Dave Smith respond to this question. Cardston has a lot of crime that is done in early hours by foot traffic around the community. What is your stand on this problem?
Good question. We've addressed this problem several times. I developed the COP program years ago to help the RCMP, and our acting staff sergeant right now, Sergeant Beelert, is working on foot patrols in our community. It is also up to the citizen to provide security on his own place. We've advocated that you provide motion sensor lights and so forth, and this will help in the discouragement of crime in our community. Thank you.
Oh boy. What is the solution to this problem? I was in a meeting one time where it was discussed, and they were saying that these foot soldiers, they have the town at night. We have it during the day. They take it over at night. So what are you going to do? The only solution is either lock them all up or hire somebody to run 24 hours a day and be in police. I don't know how you stop it. You can't make a fellow stay at home. They're out at night.
I think one of the things that we can do is start using technology. Security cameras have been used in a lot of centers, and this has cut down on crime rates. Also, in some areas where people gathered and created problems, they started playing classical music. Most crooks don't like classical music, so they don't do it.
That's nice there, Dave. That's probably the way to do it, I'm thinking. So, I know in council we actually have the RCMP come in there and they discuss some of the issues that are going on in the streets and some of the things that we've been hearing. We share ideas back and forth. They do have more foot patrols out there for the RCMP right now. But first of all, and ultimately, probably comes back on the parents. Like, first of all, your kids shouldn't be out in the early morning hours. If you don't know where they are, probably they're causing a little bit of mischief out there. So I think it comes back to the parents, and I know the RCMP for sure are doing what they can to help.
Jason's asked me if I would respond to this question also, so I'll take a little different tack. Goes to when I was talking to someone about the swimming pool, and I said there's one thing our kids need worse than the swimming pool, and that's character. And I think we need to make sure that the kids have work to do so that they can develop character and appreciation of value, and then they won't be turning to crime. Thanks.
We've now had each candidate respond to 2 questions, but you may have noticed the trustees haven't responded to any. And that's because none have been submitted, so which isn't good. But is there a question from the floor that we could pose to the trustees that anybody would have? Okay.
Do you have any specific ideas in mind in how to increase parental involvement?
The question is, do you have any specific ideas in mind on what we can do to increase parental involvement in the schools? Okay. Let's go in the same order. Only one mic for that.
This issue is being talked about more by the provincial government. They wish that the parents would be more involved in school councils. We're going to have more surveys, possibly online if you go to the website for the school division. I know they're going to have some open discussions with the communities in some of our facilities, probably the Civic Center and others, but that is a big issue. The government wishes to hear from the communities. They want us to communicate more with the communities as well and get their input on issues. It's a recent and ongoing concern.
It is.
definitely an ongoing concern, and it's something that's always been there. Maybe just an example of something I did once as a principal. I had a parent who was really upset with the school and with what was going on with their children, and I invited her to come and do a little service project in the school and be involved and start doing things for students in the school. She did this, and her total attitude toward the school's changed. She became involved, and I think there's opportunities for parents to become involved in the school anytime if they would like, and I would certainly invite them all to do that.
Yeah, I'm aware that this happens a bit more maybe in the elementary school. I think a lot of it's just by invitation, just making the parents aware of what is happening in the school, but maybe it becomes a part of the school to do the inviting.
I think an important part of that is soliciting that input from the parent. You're wanting to hear what they have to say, and also being interested in their life and what's going on and some of the challenges that they're facing, and even inviting them into the classroom and allowing them to be celebrated for who and what they are. It's really great for students and children to see that their parents, even coming into the classroom, it can just be an entry door for them to be a part of that whole process.
I was speaking with a friend of mine who lives in Innisfail, Alberta. Innisfail is a town of about 7,000 people. For 20 years, they have had an indoor pool. The school jurisdictions in Innisfail consistently come to Innisfail for about a 20 or 30 mile perimeter to offer their kids, and it's in cooperation, I'm sure, with the municipality, the town of Innisfail. They have their swimming lessons in the off-season, so families can take the time to vacation during the summer and not have their kids tied to the summertime for swimming lessons. So my question for the West Wind School trustee candidates is this: will the West Wind School Division, you as trustees, seek to participate with the town, with the county, hopefully the Blood Tribe, as a partner in whatever option we find affordable, and I stress the word affordable, for a swimming facility in Cardston? We may not be able to afford a fixed roof pool. We may be able to go with the vinyl cover, which will extend our season by 2 months in the summer, prior to the summer, 2 months after. But will the West Wind School Division commit to seek funding to participate as a partner to offer swimming during school time for your students?
I know the school gets around to using the swimming pool facilities usually in June. There's not much time in June. It's a wrap-up time, so there's really not that much time. As far as getting involved, I'm sure that the school would be willing to look at the situation, consider it, but just offhand, I'm wondering why it shouldn't be the various communities that get involved. Why shouldn't it be Mountain View? Why shouldn't it be the Blood Reserve? Why shouldn't it be and the students from those areas? Whereas the school really doesn't have that much time to use the facilities, even though I'm sure we have been able to go there, have classes, and maybe be there for a week, but a big contribution, I can't see it coming myself, but I'm only one voice out of 9.
I think an indoor swimming pool would be wonderful. My children live in communities where they have them, and it's a great experience for kids. It's a bread and butter kind of thing. The government gives us the bread, and we have a little bit of butter. And personally, I would like to use a little bit of that butter, as much as we could afford, from a school board point of view, in supporting an indoor pool. Yes.
In my opinion, the more involvement there is for kids, especially with recreation such as swimming and stuff like that, I think all the better, you bet.
An important thing I think we need to address as we look at something like this is that as a school board we have a budget,
and that budget sustains those youth in school. And so as we sit down at the table, we have to address to make sure that the most important thing is happening, that we have teachers in front of those students, and that our resources are going in that direction. But having said that, I think we have to look at all aspects of that. And I don't think there would be a problem with sitting around at the table and discussing that and seeing if there's any possibilities. Thank you.
Okay, well, one more question for the trustees here.
Sorry, trustees, what do you do about better teacher involvement with the student? And what do we do with poor teachers?
Okay, I'll repeat that question. Is what do we do for better teacher involvement with the student? And what will we do about poor teachers in the system?
I know we have a lot of great teachers. We do have perhaps some poor teachers. In fact, we probably recognize that, and we have an administration, we have local principals, we have supervision, we have evaluation, we have them doing their growth plans regularly. They tell us what they're going to do to improve. Regularly through the year, we meet with teachers that need to improve, and it is an ongoing process. And I know administration is spending a lot of time on improving instruction in the class nowadays.
Well said, and that's the process, really. And I don't know that I would agree that we do have poor teachers. We have really, really good ones, and we have good ones. And I think the poor ones we have got rid of. And it's all relative. And there's always an ongoing opportunity, and the board pushes professional development and being better involved with the students. That's something we always are working for.
My opinion on that would be simply to, if there are troubled teachers as far as the kids who they are teaching and who are working with, it needs to be brought forth to the board, and the administrative jurisdiction can handle that as they see fit.
I believe this is something that our school board has really been aggressive about, is getting good teachers in front of those students. And these teachers have professional learning communities, and in these professional learning communities, they share best practices. And so I want to think that in a positive way that the teachers are sharing a better way of teaching, and it's happening almost as a peer thing inside of their own organization. And as we look at teachers that may not be where they need to be, that's what we have principals for, and they get those assessments and help those teachers get where they need to be. Thank you.
Our final two questions will be addressed actually to the mayor, as it's probably not appropriate for his council to respond to these. The first is relating to the golf course and what the current situation is with the golf course. And the second relates to a four-year college and a study that was recently done by the town on this college. So we'll give the mayor a minute and a half to respond to those two questions.
Very quickly, the current council has been approached to examine some alternative managerial options regarding the golf course. We have decided, and I think it's a wise decision to do this, we've decided not to make that decision, but to hand that decision to the next council. These folks that you see here, okay? What this does is it allows you folks to give your input to the current council, to the new council that you will select, so that we, because I assume I'm going to be there, with six counselors, to examine options for golf. It is a question that was on the submitted list, and so that's what we've decided to do. So that 6 of these 14 candidates will be at the table to decide what options might be there in front of us, okay? I can also tell you that college-related, there was a question submitted about a college. There's been a study group working for over a year, and we've been doing some marvelous things. It's a very, very tough process. Cardston would be ideal for a college. Not so much for our kids, because our kids seem to want to leave. We think that there are a lot of kids who would like to come to a college here. Maybe they're from Pacific Rim. Maybe they're from Latin America. Maybe they're from Europe, who would love to come to a college in this community and this environment, and we have made great strides. We're at a very, very critical point where we will, on the verge of doing a feasibility study. Thank you.
We'd like to thank all of our candidates for taking the time to come this evening to present their opinions and their ideas to the council. And we encourage all of you to come and vote for them. It's been a wonderful evening. You certainly have time to meet with the candidates afterwards to ask any questions that you have individually to them. And we again appreciate your time and thank you very much for coming.